Good evening. I'm your host, Karen Hudes, in this series on the network of global corporate control. Today's segment is called Getting Back to Gold and is a sequel to the segment that we did 1 year ago about gold. I could not post that video on YouTube, so you can view it on archive.org instead. Although the sound quality is good, the video has been hacked after it was uploaded, so that the audio and video are not exactly in sync. We're coming to you live this week from DCTV's Studio A again. Thanks to Carmen Stanley, studio producer and director, Mo Jackson, audio, Mark Wesley, prompter, and Cruchet Starnes, floor director. The network of global corporate control is a huge company that thinks we're too stupid to catch on. They like to try and hack my videos, and this only boomerangs against the network of global corporate control. The network of global corporate control exists because we are continuing to allow it to issue paper money for free, even though it's bankrupt, and all we have to do is switch from paper money to money minted out of gold in a global currency reset. The chances this happens are over 90 to 95% based on a power transition model that came to the World Bank from the United States National War College. The global currency reset is the job of the 188 ministers of finance and development on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. The Board of Governors has appointed me as overseer mandate trustee of the Global Debt Facility. The Global Debt Facility contains the world's gold, precious metals, gems, and bonds issued by the Federal Reserve that are now worth more than $2 quadrillion. Jose Rizal, who was Superior General of the Jesuits at the end of World War II, deposited the assets into the Global Debt Facility on January 3, 1949. The network of global corporate control owns the banks and most of the companies on the stock markets, including Google and YouTube. The Global Debt Facility now owns the network of global corporate control because the Board of Governors placed the network of global corporate control into receivership. The elites are refusing to do their jobs to enforce this receivership. The Postmaster General of the United States, Megan Brennan, and the Director General of the Universal Postal Union International Bureau, Mr. Bishar A. Hussain, are committing mail fraud. In next week's show, we will discuss the role of Benjamin Franklin, Postmaster General of the Colonies, the Confederated States, and then the first Postmaster General of the United States. In the rest of this show, we're going to follow the money down the yellow brick road. As you may know, Frank Baum based The Wonderful Wizard of Oz on the United States monetary system in 1900. Let's start out with some basics on money.
In the long, long ago, people bartered. They traded things they had for things they wanted. I'll trade you my raspberries for that there pot pie.
I don't want your berries.
Come on, pal, sweet berries.
They're not sweet. They're old, and I don't like berries.
Give me that pot pie!
No.
As you can see, this bartering situation created some problems. Then, one day, a goldsmith walked up and said,
Now, everybody thinks gold is valuable, so why doesn't everybody trade gold for things they need?
A price was set for gold, and now it was very easy to conduct commerce because people could trade gold for all the things they needed.
Arvin! Wow, look at all my gold! Hey, stop them! That's my gold!
Damn thieves!
Say there, Pyle, I've got a vault and some guards. I can keep your gold safe for you, for a small fee.
Yeah, sure, that'd be awesome.
You see, Pyle, this is how the first bank made money.
There you go, Pyle. I owe you 100 gold coins.
Okay, great.
Come back anytime and redeem your gold when you want it. It'll be right here, in my vault.
Now you're holding the very first paper money pile.
Wow, this is great. It all makes sense.
Oh, that's right. It was good, and everybody started using IOUs because everybody knew the IOU was as good as gold.
Wow, this candy is really a good price. 1 IOU. I'm getting some more for later. Hey, wait a minute. It was just 1 IOU. 10 IOUs for chocolate? You can't just raise prices like that.
Oh, the Candyman can.
Oh, the Candyman can. Wait, that is just frickin' wrong.
It's called inflation, pal. It makes your IOUs worth less and less until they are worth nothing. Less bang for the buck. Dollar ain't what it used to be.
But I worked hard and I baked all those pot pies. Now I have to work harder to make less? That's not fair.
Oh, if you think that's not fair, you're gonna love the next part.
What's he doing?
How do banks make money, pal?
By making more loans?
Oh, that's right. He's good. See, he prints more IOUs without any more gold, loans them out for interest, makes a pretty penny, and nobody is the wiser. Unless everybody wanted their gold back at the same time.
No. That's my gold.
Not anymore.
What are you talking about?
I'd like to redeem my IOUs, please. Thank you very much.
Hey! No! I want my gold back now! Thief! Thief!
Gotta love the bank run, bringing people together. See, they all found out he was stealing, made a run on the bank, and demanded their gold. But as you can see, there ain't no gold to get.
Hardman!
Don't worry.
The rest of this cartoon video is pretty good. You can watch it by clicking on the link that is on the teleprompter that I have uploaded in my social media. If you can't find it, send an email to me at karenhudes@hotmail.com. Gold has always played an important role in the international monetary system. Gold treasures have been found dating back to as early as 4000 BC in a burial site in Varna, Bulgaria, from the ancient Thracian civilization. By 3600 BC, Egyptian goldsmiths began smelting gold ores to separate the metals inside. They used blowpipes made from the fire-resistant clay to heat the smelting furnace. Here are some gold coins used by the Incas. As early as 3100 BC, we have evidence of a gold to silver value ratio in the Code of Menes, who was the founder of the first Egyptian dynasty. In the Menes Code, it's stated 1 part of gold is equal to 2 1/2 parts of silver in value. Here are the reasons why gold has been used as money during our history. 1. Lasting. It's quite inert and doesn't corrode, meaning it doesn't lose value. Thus, generations could hand over their gold to their next generations. Number 2, it's portable. It's extremely dense, meaning it's easier to carry and handle than a sack of rice or a barrel of oil. In fact, anybody could put their entire family's wealth in a small bag and carry away in times of crisis, disaster, or migration. 3, trustworthy. It's very easy to test the purity anywhere in the world at almost zero cost. How easy is it to test a foreign counterfeit note? How easy is it to value land or diamonds? Number 4, gold is stable. The supply of gold is stable across centuries. It's very unlikely to produce new mines anytime soon. How easy is it to print currency and debase the value of the currency? How likely is it to find a newer mine for another metal? No government can steal your savings value by increasing production. 5, liquidity. Gold has only one grade and thus single pricing, meaning it's very liquid. If you were to trade in diamonds or oil, you have to deal with a wide range of grades and quality. Can you get the same value for your diamond ring if you were to sell it now at the price you bought it? Number 6, universal. Gold is recognized all over the world. This means flexibility and trust. No other material is this recognized across the world. Will your yuans or rupees or reals work this way? Number 7, diversion. Unlike silver or platinum, gold has very little industrial use. Only about 100 tons annually is used in industries such as semiconductors. Thus, you're not taking away a valuable industrial commodity for trading. 8, divisible. Currency must be divisible into smaller units in order to be effective as a medium of exchange. Diamonds are scarce, durable, and transportable, but they lack divisibility. You can't buy an apple with a diamond and easily figure out the change. Paper money always fails. It usually takes around 40 years to fail. The network of global corporate control has been printing Federal Reserve notes like there's no tomorrow to try and crash the unconstitutional Federal Reserve note and surrender the United States. The network of global corporate control is trying to pull the same maneuver that they pulled in the 300s just before the Dark Ages, when they removed copper from the denarius. They've been watering down Federal Reserve notes through what they call quantitative easing. And maybe we can get some pictures up. The Federal Reserve note has gotten so unstable that the network of global corporate control is no longer able to suppress the price of gold through naked short trading. Naked short trading means you offer to sell something which you really don't possess. But what is good for the goose is good for the gander. There's not only interest on country debt, there's also compounded interest on the Treaty of Versailles bonds that were issued by the Federal Reserve in the 1930s, which are held in the Global Debt Facility. As Overseer Mandate Trustee, and on behalf of the 188 Ministers of Finance and Development on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, I prevented the Federal Reserve from buying back their Treaty of Versailles bonds, and instead, I recorded liens against all of the Federal Reserve banks after a notarial protest. The Postmaster General of the United States, Megan Brennan, and the Director General of the Universal Postal Union International Bureau, His Honorable Bishar A. Hussein, are committing mail fraud by delivering through the mails the network of global corporate control's attempt to void a lien on the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. And they also returned the payment of the recording tax, which I left in Anne Arundel County, to put a lien there. I was putting a lien on Kathy Lanier's property because she is breaking her oath of office. She's preventing me from going back inside the World Bank with absolutely no justification. I have a lien on her property, and I'm not allowed to execute it because of what the Anne Arundel County tax people are doing. And by delivering that through the mails, that's mail fraud. In April, China launched the Shanghai Gold Benchmark Auction that challenges London's monopoly pricing of gold. Japan announced in mid-July that its TOCOM commodity exchange would begin trading physical gold, just like the Shanghai Gold Exchange. This announcement was made on July 25th. This has ended the fictional prices of gold in London brought about by naked short selling on future offers many times the actual amount of gold. And we have a graph of the price of gold. You can see that it's now going up. That shows that the dollar is, or the Federal Reserve note, because the Federal Reserve note is not actually the dollar. I made the following comment in an article about the price of gold at Zero Hedge. Well, this is the moment that we've been waiting for, entering the world where the network of global corporate control, which was identified by Vitali Glatfelder and Battiston of ETH Zurich, they are mathematicians. There are enough people who know that the world's monetary gold reserves are on deposit with the global debt facility and that the fractional reserve fiat currencies are on the way out. As overseer trustee of the global debt facility that is administered by the 188 ministers of finance and development on the board of governors of the World Bank and IMF, I'm pleased to inform you that we're going to be working together for a smooth transition. The threats that there are imminent arrests are hollow. The conditions on which the gold is to be released require amnesty so that there is a peaceful transition. And we've been talking about this in other segments. The transition will rest on local currencies. This is going to be a big shift, and many of the revelations have begun. Let's talk about pensions. That scam called that currencies and that scam called country debt will wipe out pensions if we do not have a global currency reset to replace Federal Reserve notes. I've been making this point to the National Conference on Public Employee Retirement Systems. The American Federation of Government Employees are not going to prevent the global debt facility from implementing the global currency reset. That was agreed to by the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF. The Board of Governors administers the United States monetary gold reserves in the global debt facility. On July 29th, I sent this email to Mark Paxson, who's the General Counsel of California State Treasurer's Office. Dear Mark Paxson, I sent Sharon Hicks, who's on the California State Teachers Retirement System Board, as well as the board of the National Conference on Public Employee Retirement Systems, a copy of this email. I had contacted you earlier about the corruption at the center of the international financial institutions before I became overseer mandate trustee of the global debt facility containing the United States monetary gold reserves. Sincerely, and then I signed it as acting general counsel of the World Bank and also overseer mandate trustee of the global debt facility. And the initials of this trust are TVM LSM 666. And we've been talking a little bit about numerology, that's called gematria. And then the letter that I sent to the executive board of the National Conference on Public Employee Retirement Systems was, this is to inform you that the monetary gold reserves of the United States of America are safe and are being deployed in a global currency reset agreed by the 188 ministers of finance on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF to protect the viability of the pensions which you are entrusted in overseeing. The United States monetary gold reserves are in a trust that was set up by General Eisenhower and President Truman at the privately owned Federal Reserve banks, which issued unconstitutional Federal Reserve notes to surrender the United States unilaterally. They're in receivership and are being wound down. The Federal Reserve's lies in the press are exposed. And then I signed that the same way. We've been talking about Japan and Germany, who will remain allies of the United States when we end corruption and state capture by the network of global corporate control, according to the accurate power transition model that came to the World Bank in 2004 and which I've been following. Let's look at what's happening in Japan. And I tweeted to ABC News after they mentioned that Japan's 82-year-old emperor had abdicated. He was going to be stepping down. And so I said it might be because of this letter, which I sent to Emperor Akihito. And I also sent it to some other people in Japan who I had met when I was living there in 2014. As the overseer mandate trustee of the global debt facility containing the monetary gold reserves of Japan and the United States, I'm inviting Japan to join me in viewing the global debt facility's accounts on Euroclear. The good people of Japan and the good people of the United States of America are offsetting that scam called country debt against the Treaty of Versailles bonds, now worth $2 quadrillion, that are held in the global debt facility. The gold in the global debt facility is coming into view along with the hidden corruption in the financial system and the existence of the network of global corporate control and the Coalition for the Rule of Law. These can all be seen in the comment pages in my YouTube channel and my other social media. This is actually a tug of war. A growing number of people are aware of the corruption. We will talk about how the federal judges are not sitting in constitutional courts next week. This tweet about how District Judge Paul Friedman has pardoned John Hinckley on August 5th went viral. John Hinckley was a Jesuit agent whose job was to keep Ronald Reagan from replacing unconstitutional Federal Reserve notes. On August 3rd, and then again on August 4th, a man who said he was representing some members of the network of global corporate control called and started trying to negotiate with me. I have reported on my conversation with this gentleman. I said that I could not cut a deal for the Board of Governors and that I was only authorized to discuss what the Board of Governors had already authorized. I remembered that the Trilateral Commission also offered a deal to Ferdinand Marcos. Marcos did not sign the document because, in his own words, and I'm going to mispronounce this in Tagalog, para akong pinirito sa sarili kong mantika, which means, I would have been fried in my own lard. Marcos further added that he had all those years invested so much of his time, expertise, strategies, and a lot of guts just to safeguard all the wealth which he intended to offer his countrymen's future and that of our children's children. As we go forward in the global currency reset, critical thinking is needed. Get used to treating information like a big jigsaw puzzle. Harold Lasswell, also said to be the most original and productive sociologist and political scientist of his time, wanted to know who was in charge of the media and came up with control analysis to find out. So when you read something, ask yourself, who owns this newspaper? And all of the mainstream newspapers are owned by the network of global corporate control. What are their aims? What are their political allegiances? Do they attempt to set the editorial policy? Does the fact that they are a Republican account for the newspaper's repeated attacks on the royal family? Are they subject to any kind of legal constraints? How does the editor decide what to put in the paper? The network of global corporate control is very good at blaming the Jews. So the first thing people like to say when I tell them to look at the head of the snake is that they say I'm Jewish. So then I point out that the problems we are facing came into existence before Judaism even existed. The pharaonic bloodline families are the real culprits. Last week, we showed you at minute 6.5 on a video, a clip of Major General Konstantin Petrov, who had been leader of Russia's Conceptual Party and head of the opposition project Concept in the Civil Security. Konstantin Petrov died on July 21, 2009. He supposedly died of natural causes, but his friends and colleagues still believe that Petrov was poisoned. The first Jews were Egyptians. On March 15, 2014, when I was given a nasty concussion in a synagogue with a blow under my chin, I then informed the board of executive directors of the World Bank and some Israelis, and I also told the rest of the internet about this attack. And after that, Israeli embassies closed down. I've informed my followers about Dennis Wise's 6.5-hour documentary called Adolf Hitler, The Greatest Story Never Told. Red Ice said that the interview has taken the internet by storm. It's been hailed as the single most important media contribution in the last 70 years. As Robert O'Bannon says, quote, "The enemy hides behind authentic Judaism and when attacked will deceptively claim anti-Semitism and hate crimes at work. Members of the enemy are not Jews in any way. They don't have a religious or humanitarian bone in their bodies, only a lower order predator instinct. Look at my consistent effort through the years. Don't you realize that divide and conquer is their game? That's the oldest game in the book. And let me tell you what I said about Fukushima. I said that the Israeli firm Magna BSP provided security at the Daiichi plant, and the security devices were actually gun-type nuclear weapons. The Israelis planted Stuxnet, a computer virus that disabled the computer system at Fukushima. And here's what I said about Auschwitz. I said that the IG Farben plant near the Auschwitz complex was a uranium enrichment plant, and that the enriched uranium that was intercepted from the German submarines was used in the bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and that the gas chambers at Auschwitz were reconstructed by the Soviets. And what I said about Yemen, I said that 4,500 Yemenite babies in Israel were taken from their families, and that most of these children were used as guinea pigs to research the effects of radiation in the United States. This was because Shimon Peres traded these children in return for Israel's nuclear program. The Saudi coalition against Yemen is to preserve the illegal military regime in the United States. It's easy to understand why these powerful families would want to use the Rothschilds as a scapegoat. But in this day and age of the internet, their efforts have failed. I called out veterans today for its failure to point to the head of the snake. And what is the head of the snake? That's the Knights of Malta in the military, like General Dunford, who wouldn't reinstate Vice Admiral Tim Giardina and Major General Michael Carey for refusing to nuke Charleston, South Carolina on the 7th of October 2013. Now, I've been criticized by a number of people on the internet. One of them is Anna von Reitz. And what she did, she's been rather quiet after I pointed out that people had gone into my computer and hacked my response to her. She was trying to steal the world's monetary gold reserves. I have prevented the theft of the monetary gold reserves by the network of global corporate control so many times, and I've documented that. When you're trying to figure out who you should believe, you need to look critically at what I've said. Don't take somebody else's word for it, because people like to put words in my mouth. You should look at what I have actually said. And what I've said about General Dunford, I've said it so many times. I've said that he is not in charge of the United States government. We are actually in interregnum. And I'm being told that it's time to wind down. So let me thank you for listening to another segment of the Network of Global Corporate Control. We've been talking about gold and how to know whether someone's word is as good as gold. We're also seeing how Emperor Akihito in Japan has decided to abdicate. Is it a coincidence that the emperor decided to step down now? Or does this have anything to do with the world's gold coming out of hiding? You have a front row seat in the global currency reset to change paper money for money minted out of gold. Until next week, I'm your host, Karen Hudes.